It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Lass Webster.
Hello.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
And Liz is playing hurt, so we're happy to have her here. So how are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Gesundheit. I hope everybody... Uncomfortably numb? Oh.
Uncomfortably, yeah.
That too. I wish I was numb, but that's beside the point.
Is there anybody in there?
Just nod if you can
I'm
hear
not.
me.
Mm-hmm. Is there anyone at home? And that's enough Pink Floyd for right now. Well, I hope you're doing okay, and I hope everybody out there is doing all right. So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Not a lot. Did we record like last week too?
We did.
Yeah. And then I think I went to the dentist, and I've been sleeping since then. I'm looking at my show notes, and I don't understand half of what I wrote here. But
Maybe wait till the drugs wear off a little next time.
Well, I had to watch a movie. No, I don't have a lot. The only thing I have wrote down here, I guess if you're a Pixar fan, everybody knows that Buzz Lightyear has come out, and it's tanking pretty hard. And I haven't seen it, so I can't say one way or the other. But I've been reading a couple articles, and they're like, "Why is it tanking?" And I think the best answer that I have read so far is because this is the story nobody asked for. Nobody wanted this, It's like, ooh, this is the movie Andy saw. Who cares? It was maybe 3 seconds of the very first Toy Story, and we're at 20 now? I mean, nobody cares. But I did, before I went to the dentist, I did take the baby to McDonald's, and they have the Buzz Lightyear toys right now.
Of course.
If you remember, rewind a few months back when I had talked about this, and I said, it's bullshit. They should have gotten Tim Allen. And the thing was, well, this isn't a movie about the toy. It's about the guy who inspired the toy. Okay, sure, that makes sense, whatever. I still think that's bullshit. But then why do the toys look like the guy from the movie and not... Shouldn't the toys look like him then? Right? It doesn't look like Buzz Lightyear. It looks like the Buzz Lightyear from the movie who does not look like the toy. So it's kind of like, okay, well, if the toys were made after this guy, then why don't the toys we're putting out right now look like the old guy?
Because they already sold those toys. They got to make new toys so they could sell more toys. That's why it needs to look different.
To me, it just, I don't know. Maybe it was the drugs. I don't know. It just didn't make any sense at all. If that was their reasoning, it's kind of like pick a lane and stay in it, Disney. You can't jump around and go, oh, but we did this and we meant that. But no, I think there's, yeah, they've got enough money. there's a lot of controversy surrounding the movie. I don't care about that. But like I said, I think the one that hit it best was nobody wanted this. They're saying COVID was one of the excuses they used for the movie bombing, and it's like, well, Doctor Strange just did really well at the box office. Batman did awesome at the box office, and
Well,
I'm sorry,
more currently, Top Gun.
right? And this is,
Nobody wanted any of those movies either. So,
True.
Well, I think with Top Gun, you kind of hit nostalgia there. You have a new generation who hasn't seen it.
100%.
Yeah. And then you have the old people who are like, hey, whatever happened to Goose? So
he fucking died halfway through the first movie. Spoiler. But anyway.
I mean, I could see the interest in that more so than, a movie about a guy who was made into a toy. That's his greatest accomplishment. And they've kind of already went into Buzz Lightyear's backstory. They had a cartoon that played for a while.
There was an animated series, that is correct. And it was actually pretty good, honestly.
It was really good. Yeah.
I liked it, and I was a grown-up at the time.
Yeah. See, James's favorite was Buzz Lightyear. So anything Buzz Lightyear, we watched it at least 50 million times, But that was kind of good about explaining who he was or who he thought he was. And I don't know, after seeing some of what this movie is about and knowing about the animated series, I'm more leaning to the Andy saw the animated series and he wanted a toy like that and not this.
Makes a lot more sense, really.
I
mean, I have not seen the new movie and I don't plan on it. But the animated series was exciting. It was fun. It was funny.
Yeah.
That's the thing you could see a kid falling in love with.
Yeah.
I don't know what they need
and
to have all this
other drama for. And it kind of went along with what hooked them in the first place. Buzz Lightyear wasn't any different than the guy he was in Toy Story. So it worked. Mm-hmm. And at that time, kids were asking for that.
Right. So 20 years ago.
Yeah. It
was
literally
popular.
was 20 years ago. Yeah. Here's the thing, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
Gladly.
Uh-huh. Where was the complaints then about the fact that Tim Allen wasn't voicing Buzz Lightyear back then? Because it wasn't Tim. It was Patrick Warburton.
Yeah, who did a phenomenal job, honestly.
But he sounded like Tim.
But it wasn't him.
It wasn't him.
He actually has a very different voice. He just talked in the same cadence that Buzz Lightyear did.
Yeah.
The deal was he voice acted.
From this movie, he doesn't even sound like Buzz Lightyear. And people are like, well, the toys sound different. Disney, when people are, right before Doctor Strange came out, they're hitting the public. What the hell? What's the word I'm thinking of?
Asshole.
When they do like their little press tour, I guess it is. I don't know.
Probably.
But one of the things they always talked about was, and once the movie wraps up, we have to go in and do a lot of voice work for like commercials and toys and things like that. So most of your name brand toys, it is the actor who voices the toy. They don't just do the movie. They do a lot of plugs and, hey, you're watching KTXY, here's Toy Story, that kind of thing. They do that like over and over for thousands of different little catchphrases, and then Disney will come along and go, oh, hey, we want to make a Doctor Strange doll, but we wanted them to say it's voodoo time. Well, then they go through the thousands of clips that they have from Benedict Cumberbatch, and they'll find where he says that, and they'll record the clip and send it off. So most of the time the actors do the toys and stuff. That's part of what they get paid for. if in the case of like the animated show, um, I I'll have to go back and look because it's been years. What'd you say? 20 years since the show came out.
Something like that. I don't
I'm
remember.
pretty much thinking that he sounded a lot like Tim Allen. I could be wrong. Like I said, I will have to go back and look at it again because until you said it wasn't Tim Allen, I didn't know that. So he did a good enough job of sounding like who he was supposed to sound like.
Or
hey,
it didn't matter as much.
yeah.
I mean, honestly, the deal is, I find it fascinating that there are people out there bitching because, oh my God, nobody but Harrison Ford can play Han Solo ever, forever, for the rest of eternity.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then we get all up in arms about something like this where okay, they changed out an actor. Maybe Tim Allen wasn't available. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they did not ask him. Maybe they knew he'd want too damn much money. I don't know who did the voice in the movie. I don't care.
Chris Evans,
Yeah.
who you know demands a
Who
higher
probably
paycheck than Tim Allen would.
You know, they're all, he's probably probably he is significantly less controversial also, but that's
Right.
probably a different show.
And see, I didn't want to go there, but I went there. That's why they didn't choose Tim Allen. He was too controversial at the time. And to me, it just kind of stinks because the hypocrisy really showed, especially with Tim Allen. It really showed. It showed that Disney's on one side of the fence, and if you don't think and walk and talk like we want you to on this side of the fence, then you're gone. They did it to Johnny Depp. They did it to Vanessa Hudgens. They did it to Tim Allen. They did it to Karina, or what was the girl's name? She just released a movie with Ben Shapiro. Corona. Yeah, they let her go. So it's, Disney has, and hey, you know me, I've always said, you make the money, you get to decide how you spend the money, and that's fine. But when you do something like that, have enough balls to stand up and say, yeah, this is why we did it. Don't be some kind of, spineless person and go, oh, no, that's not what we were going to do.
Liz,
The problem.
I understand what you're saying, and I would agree with you, except for the fact that Tim Allen just completed a Santa Claus miniseries that's going to be airing on Disney+.
Yes,
So
which they gave him after the whole big debacle with Toy Story. That's how they made him happy, is because everybody was like, what the hell, Disney? We don't care what he said, who he's done, his arrest record. We don't care about any of that. This guy is this guy, and now you're telling us, So once they held their feet to the fire, we're like, we love this guy.
He had the arrest record before Toy Story, but that's
Yep.
a different.
He had
Right,
it before
he
Home
did.
Improvement.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
Yep. But you know how it goes. When you have any kind of controversy, I could burp on the air right now and somebody could pull up, oh, look what she did in 3rd grade. She's known to be like, they're notorious for doing that. So, of course, that did come up during all of this, which people change, people grow, I am not the same person I was when I was 20, you grow. But I like I said, when after everybody complained and, they were too far into the Toy Story thing, that's when they gave Tim Allen a Santa Claus thing. Okay, well, we'll do this because these people are really mad at us right now. And, we want to keep their money. So let's put him over here. Johnny Depp, the same thing. They let him go. They wanted him to have no part with Pirates of the Caribbean. They kicked him off the set of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And now that he's gone to court and he's won his case and, Disney is seeing how many people are like, we love Johnny. They're like, maybe we should give him $300 million, or it was 300 alpacas and $100 million, So they're already being hypocrites on that. So it's kind of like, if you want to take a stand, if you really want to go, oh, we stand behind this person, then do it. Don't play a bunch of this, tell me the sky's pink. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, I respect you more because you stood up for what you believed in than hid it behind a bunch of hypocrisy.
And that would be fine if the deal was that they were standing up for what they believe in. But that's not what they're doing.
No.
Again,
in any of those
as you just said, they are kissing the ass of the money.
Mm-hmm.
So if public outcry, if the court of public opinion has decided he's guilty, then he's guilty, and that's how Disney's going to act. If 5 years later or whatever, turns out he was innocent, well, then yeah, he can still make us money. So they're going to go that route.
But sometimes I think people live in an echo chamber.
Sometimes.
They block people they don't want to hear a differing opinion. They won't go on Facebook, but will only go on Twitter. Well, there's your echo chamber right there.
And you're finally grasping the age of social media right now.
Right. But see, Disney hasn't caught that yet. Sure, Twitter was all upset about Tim Allen, but they forgot, Twitter is not the freaking world. I mean, most of the people I know, I'm like the oddball because I have a Twitter account. They don't use Twitter. They don't even know what a Twitter is. So
most of the people on Twitter don't know, but that's a different problem.
Right. And if you scroll through my Twitter, I'm not very active on there at all. I mean, I do go through my timeline because I have a bunch of dogs and that kind of thing. But I follow a broad spectrum of people. I don't even have to like you. Hell, I think I follow Zack Snyder on there. Not because I like him, but because he's a freaking train wreck and I want to see what happens next, But if
you're following him to the T.
Right. But if you block out everybody who has a different opinion than you, you're never going to hear anything else. So you're like, well, everybody thinks this way. No. Just the little circle and the little echo chamber you've put yourself in thinks that way. Everybody on the outside's thinking a little differently, and I think that's what Disney found out with this. Sure, they were pissed off a small group of people, but once the shit really hit the fan, they found out there was an even bigger group of people who didn't voice one way or the other when it came out. But now they are, and they're kind of like, oh, well, we didn't know that.
Well, hopefully they're learning from the whole vocal minority thing that the world has basically become, but who knows?
I'm hoping so. I think Warner Brothers, don't come for me. I think after the whole Justice League thing, and I'm not just shitting on Zack Snyder, but I think they realized then we can't let a group of people tell us what the hell to do. And that's what they did. They bent over backwards, did what these people wanted, and it fucking sucked. And they're kind of like, well, why did it suck? Because you had a group of people who aren't paid to make movies, who have never wrote any kind of script at all, telling you what to write, and that's what you made your movie on.
Right,
a bunch of
millions and millions of dollars on something that was honestly just the opinion of a handful of really loud randos on the internet.
Yes. And they found out once they released it. I think they said the numbers for Justice League was less than Wonder Woman. But they said with Wonder Woman, a lot more people watched the movie. Zack Snyder had the numbers, but they said if you look at those numbers, over half these people didn't even finish the movie. So it's kind of like, can you consider that 50 million people watched this movie when only 20 of them stuck around to the end? So they I'm glad they took a deeper dive into it. But I think they learned pretty well, yeah, we can't do this. And that's why when they were like, oh, we want the sequel, they were like, fuck no.
Right. You gotta be kidding me.
Been there, done that, lost how many million? We'll stick with the guys who know the business, not a bunch of people who think they know how to do my job,
Right. And hopefully Disney's figuring that out now too.
Hopefully. But they're a bunch of bandwagon riders, so probably not.
They may be a little slower to get off of the whole bandwagon thing for sure, but
yeah,
because they've kind of always been that way. But the deal is figuring out what the bandwagon really looks like, because it's gotten really blurry in the last 10 years.
And if you want to make money, I mean, you have to please most of the people, you know? So you can't really blame them for doing what they want to do. And I don't think you can really blame them when you force them to say and do things that they don't want to do. You know, it's, yeah. But I'm way off Buzz Lightyear, so I'm in another galaxy.
I tried to bring it back.
But yeah, I'm hoping Disney kind of sits back and goes, you know, if I was Pixar, I'd be like, I can't believe you let us put our name on this shit. When's the last time they bombed? This is the first movie that sticks out to me that Pixar didn't clean up at the box office. And what's sad is because the last really, really good movies that Pixar's put out has gone straight to streaming and it never hit the theaters. And that's what they chose to go to the theater with.
Well, it's part of the big franchise. I mean, come on.
Well, they didn't think Encanto would do as well as it did. And then they were kind of like, oh, shit, we should have put this at the movies, you know. And it's a cute show. It's total Pixar, you know.
And so much for her not talking too much tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just
I
thinking,
didn't
I'm
believe
gonna
more
have
than you
to
did.
stop.
Come on.
I know. But I just wanted to put that on the record.
Yeah, I got to babbling. I'll pay for it later.
Probably.
Oh, you will.
Yeah, that's my thing.
Okay, Mikey,
Oh,
please.
man, oh no.
Congratulations, Mike.
Oh no. It's no, you're not gonna. No. You wish. To be honest, I ended up being pretty sick over the weekend, so I honestly got nothing.
Oh no.
Other than finishing the long ass movie we're watching for this week. I spent a lot of time unconscious this weekend. And it hasn't really been much better since then either, but that's kind of its own
Good
little
thing-
problem. But
Yeah, good. Good thing you're not going on a trip or anything.
Yeah.
Going out and getting a bunch of needles stuck in me last week. Probably not the smartest move, but wasn't really my idea. But hey, that's okay.
Hey,
Not like
it's okay.
dirty heroin needles or anything. I mean, we're talking medical stuff here, but
Yeah.
still,
Okay.
there've been some really unpleasant side effects in our house this weekend. So, big bag of nothing for me. Sorry.
Okay, Les.
Well, first, Mike, I hope you're feeling better. I know it's not easy, but for me, I watched the movie. I also watched a couple of documentaries about the movie Animal House.
Ooh.
And I was so mesmerized by those documentaries that I said, now I got to sit down and watch Animal House again.
Yeah, like you really needed an
That
excuse.
took a lot of arm twisting, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. It was far beyond, But that is I guess I don't think kids use the term choice anymore, but that was a choice movie. And it was filmed in Oregon. According to the documentary, they couldn't find a university to film that. Nobody wanted.
That's probably because they showed them the script.
The school that did accept them was run by a dean who passed over on another different movie back much earlier. He passed on The Graduate. And he kind of saw the error of his ways and decided, yeah, come on in, set up, do your film, love to have you. And they shot it. Shooting for this movie was 31 days, which is, even at that time, was unheard of. That is a huge undertaking. Yet, it won the hearts of anybody and everybody that had seen it. Prior to the shooting, they were the crew, the cast, was asked to a couple of fraternities just to get a feel. The first one they went to was essentially a replica of Delta House. And they had a hell of a good time.
Love it.
The second one was a replica of the Omega House. And there they were not welcome. Fights broke out. Cast is going, what the hell did we do? Yet, in fact, they ran. They said, hey, we appreciate this, but we gotta go. Because they were about to film their first scenes on the following Monday. This was a couple of good documentaries. And you think about it, and even John Landis, even with the prince that he was, he couldn't figure out why the problems were there. If you remember the scene with the parade, the town that they filmed in now has a recreation of that scene with the band, the marching band, and they even take them into the same alley just to have fun. I don't know what else I can say. It was a good, solid story, and thoroughly enjoyed it. It's great fun to look back and see some of these crazy things and then equate them to the documentary. And yeah, I know I didn't have to, but to sit down with it and enjoy it was way too much fun. And knowing Stephen First's last scene filming was his scene with Belushi in the garage after their car has been essentially destroyed. But if you watch, you can see First starting to crack up as he's facing Belushi. Because with John, it's just kind of similar to Robin Williams. Just open up and do what the hell you want.
Right. Try to cheer the guy up standing in front of you.
Right.
And then it becomes Stephen First's job to stand there and not let himself be cheered up while John friggin' Belushi is trying to make him laugh.
Yeah.
That's a tough scene, man.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with Stephen First, dude can act, obviously, because he nearly pulled that scene off.
Yep. So that's about all I got for you.
Okay.
Have you
Cool.
seen another documentary called Drunk, Stoned, Brilliant, Dead?
The National Lampoon?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another really good documentary.
That
That is one hell of a wild story too.
Yes.
I mean, it's basically the kind of the Doug Kenny story, because that guy was a piece of work, and that is in both that is both a positive and a negative, but he lived hard, and he was the guy behind Animal House, and he was the guy behind National Lampoon entirely from the beginning. And
He and Maddie Simmons, yeah.
hmm He also played Stork in Animal House.
Yes. What are we going to do, you moron? Yep.
hmm
That was him.
That's him. But yeah, it's a really interesting story.
Cool. For me, not a whole heck of a lot. I've been kind of working on this, that, and the other. I did watch a documentary, which was kind of interesting. It was on Tubi. I don't know if you guys may have mentioned it before, and I just don't remember. Called Word Wars. Easy for me to say. Does that sound familiar?
No.
No.
It's the story of four guys who are on the Scrabble circuit trying to make it to the 2002 National Championship in San Diego.
Oh.
And it's real interesting because these guys are about as different as they can be, even to the approach of the game and all that. It was real interesting because you look into their lives, you look into the history of the tournament and all that. I mean, they interviewed an 11-year-old kid who's been at that time had been playing professionally for like a year and a half or so, and he was there at San Diego. I just didn't realize how popular this was. I mean, they even showed, I believe it was in New York, if I remember correctly. We're all familiar with people being out in the park playing checkers or chess or something like that. They're also playing Scrabble.
Mm.
So that's how kind of this was. But it was really kind of interesting. And of course, they showed a lot of words that you don't even know what they are. Even they give you the definition and go like, okay, and like I'm not going to remember that because that is a really weird looking word. But it was kind of interesting. It's about an hour and 20 minutes. But I mean, there was one of the guys says, I don't work. I just don't have the skills and some of the other issues he has. So this is it. So he was, and grand prize was like $25,000.
Yeesh. I kind of find myself wondering what Words with Friends has done to that industry. I wonder if it's been good for it or bad for it.
That's an interesting idea. I hadn't thought about that.
I don't expect an answer, but
yeah,
it would be interesting to look into.
I would say that it would be a benefit, but that game is also one that you're just looking to create a small word and then go, wow, look, I got 25 points.
Yeah. And what was what was also kind of interesting is one of the players that was there at the championships, he's from the UK. And this was obviously, since this was national championships, they were telling him you can't use any British
use
words.
the British spellings, right?
Right. So that was a challenge to him.
Right. Absolutely.
He still did well.
I'm sure.
But yeah. But it's like, okay. And apparently there has been some controversy, especially with the Scrabble dictionary, because apparently at one time they had the word Jew in there, but they had it listed as a verb, and a lot of people were complaining about that. It's like, okay, yeah,
it's doggy.
It's like, no, it really shouldn't be verb.
Kind of a racial slur either way.
Yeah, it is. But and they also talked about the fact that, at one point they had to create basically two dictionaries, Scrabble dictionaries, one that's more family appropriate and one that's clearly not. I was like, okay, yeah, I can see some people getting upset.
The Urban Scrabble Dictionary.
No. The Scrabble Dictionary at night.
That's awesome, yeah. The after hours version.
The after hours version, yes. So it was kind of interesting. And this takes place over 9 months.
Dang.
So they followed them for a while.
Basically the whole season, as it were.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I said, it's on Tubi, so check it out. All right. Before we get into this week's discussion, got a couple things I want to point out. First off, programming note: no new episode next week. It's our scheduled week off. Scheduled, quote unquote.
We got it scheduled eventually, sort of. My bad.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to tease you a little bit about it.
It was going to be somewhere in like a 3-week span anyway, so
it was actually going to be this week, but that's no big deal. That's all right. It's fine. But we are taking a week off, so be apprised of that. But we will be back the following week.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have a Discord that's available for y'all to come join us. We post news items, stuff for discussion, funny stuff, some videos, have some activities and all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of a place to hang out. Sign up for Discord is free. The app is free at any app store. We do have an invite on our homepage, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. So please come join us. If you want to if you're obviously like listening to the podcast, if you want to hang out with us when we're not doing the show, then that's the place to be.
Yeah. It's fun. Come join us. Clearly, I do not make my living in sales, but you get the idea. We have fun with it.
Well, apparently, you and I do. Huh?
Be like us.
Mm.
Or at least show up and point and laugh at us. Whatever. We don't care.
No one wants to be like us.
All right. For this week should be fun. We are discussing the 1967 film The Dirty Dozen, which was based off a novel, and I'm trying to remember who wrote the novel. E.M. Nathanson, which it was actually supposedly based off some stories from World War II. The film was directed by Robert Aldrich, And God, look, the cast. Oh my God, the cast. Lee Marvin, Ernest Borgnine, Charles Bronson, Jim Brown, John Cassavetes, Richard Jekyll, George Kennedy, Robert Ryan, Telly Savalas, Clint Howard, Trini Lopez.
Clint Walker.
I mean, Clint. Yeah.
Clint
Did
Howard.
I not say Clint? Oh, did I say Clint Howard?
As far as I know, Clint Howard was not in this movie.
No, Clint Howard's not this movie. How did I don't know where I got Clint Howard from. Anyway. So let's talk a little bit about the Dirty Dozen.
Dirty Dozen. I tried watching this one at first. And I don't know, like I said earlier, I've been down and comatose, so I would start it and I would fall asleep, and I was thinking, maybe I'm just not gonna like this movie. So I finally stayed awake, and I'm glad I did, because once you get past the first, I'm gonna say 5 minutes of the movie, and mind you, they've got to explain to you what's going on, which to me basically was like Suicide Squad.
No such thing as an original idea.
Right. Guys who were on death row, I'm taking it they were soldiers. I think that was said, that all of them were soldiers at some point. And he's got to take this group of thugs and, turn them into a secret squad. I thought it was funny when it needed to be funny. I absolutely loved the scene where guy was like, my guys are better than your guys. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, my guys can capture your guys. And they did. Spoiler alert for 50-year-old movie. To me, that was hilarious, especially when the general guy, I see his face, but I can't think of his name.
Ernest Borgnine.
Yeah, he caught on what was going on, and even was like, okay, he's about to hand this guy his ass and show him, they know what they're doing.
He had seen the files. He knew these guys' faces. When they started walking in the door, he's like, cool, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out of here, good luck. But that little grin he gave at the end was like, hell yeah, show this guy, And I liked the ending. I kind of got confused a little bit because they went from training to here we are. And I feel like they didn't really tell us about that mission until like the last 30 minutes of the movie, which was cool. It was, because you knew they were going to do something, and this was the something. God, I guess all of them died but Charles Bronson.
Yeah.
And Lee Marvin.
And Lee Marvin.
Right.
Yeah.
All of the criminals died except for Charles Bronson.
Yeah, but Telly Savalas didn't have to die. If he wasn't a racist asshole, he wouldn't have died. So it was kind of like, okay.
A misogynistic racist,
Yeah.
Right. He was a monster.
He
they were all
them
criminals.
That's what he was
the
going to
monster.
do. Yep. Hid behind religion. Go figure, huh?
Well.
But yeah, I liked it. It was funny when it needed to be funny. It was serious when it needed to be serious, and they didn't make it like corny, which is very hard to do when you have Hitler in a movie. It's just kind of like, but yeah. So I liked it, and I'll be honest, if you've never seen it and you don't think you would like it, continue watching. Trust me, continue watching. Once you meet the guys, once they get past all the introductions of who's who and why they're there and blah, 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 it gets good. It gets funny. They become the Dirty Dozen because they got tired of shaving in cold water. So he was like, fine, you won't shave, you won't bathe, you guys will be dirty. And that's what they were. They were the Dirty Dozen. So I thought that was kind of funny too. I wasn't expecting their name to come from that. But
And it's funny that you talk about that, and I'm trying to go back because I watched this film so many times it's not even funny. I enjoy the heck out of this film, but you talk about the beginning being so slow, and I was like, I don't remember that. I remember that when I first saw that, and I was it slow, and I didn't think that way because I was trying to figure out what's going on here and all. It's kind of interesting, but
I'm ADD, so in a movie it's like, don't freaking tell me who they are. I'll figure it out myself.
Right.
Get on with the story.
Right. And my thing with it, and I see where I can see both sides, because my thing with it is a long movie.
Yeah.
And my
There's
thing is
12
that
of them.
the Liz brain doesn't make the distinction between long and slow, which is that's not a knock, but I can see where you come up with that, and it is definitely long, and they do go into kind of a lot of detail in getting to know the characters, and then also in getting them to work together as a team. That's a long process. That's a big chunk of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And it's not always
Most of
the
the
exciting part either. So.
Well, and I get that. I see where you're talking about that, but that one of my biggest complaints, and we've kind of talked about, we especially talked about this with horror films, is the horror films, particularly the slasher films, they introduce these characters and really do nothing. So when they die, you don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. At least with this film, they give enough story to where you actually, to a degree, care for these characters. So when they eventually die, you go, oh shit, I really was hoping he would make it.
Right,
but they did it twice. That's what got me. When he first got there, they introduced them one by one while they were standing in the line. And it was like, oh, okay, roll the credits kind of thing. Then when they went inside, they did it again when they went into the jail cell and he interviewed all 12 of them. So my thing is, you took 10 minutes to tell us who they were at the very beginning. Cut that. Just tell us who they are once you get to the jail cell, because then not only did they tell us, they told us why they were locked up, and that would have been the perfect introduction, not the little roll call line they did. That took too long.
The little roll call line they did was the hammering it home to the audience that this is the military.
Yeah, and they should have lined those names up better. I'm going to go into critique here. They should have lined the names up better when they were telling us, this is, I forget their names, but then they would show Telly Savalas and 3 other names. Well, when they show Telly Savalas, they're sitting there right next to Charles Bronson. So it's kind of like, that's not Telly Savalas.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If they're going to do close-ups of everybody during the credits, I kind of have to agree with you. Showing the names in a different order is probably not the smart move.
Mm-mm.
I have to agree with you on that one. It's a minor detail, but it's kind of important.
Yeah.
I mean, for the life of me,
like me, this was the first time I had seen it. I've heard these names before. I know their work, but I didn't know a lot of them were in this movie. Right. So it would have been nice to go, oh yeah, that's Telly Savalas. That's Charles Bronson. I mean, of course, you look at Bronson and you know who the hell he is.
Sure. We did the Magnificent episode already. Magnificent 7 episode already. It's cool. Of course, we also did Horror Express with Telly Savalas, but
yeah.
Again, he's recognizable. You know who he is.
Yeah, very.
Both of them.
That distinct look. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's all I'm. When you have a movie that long, your brain starts going, what could I have cut? And that was it. Well, that, and I found it wasn't parachuting, but it was during the time they were learning that, and they took the trucks and they had to go inspect the troops. I didn't get any of that. It was like, why Why is this in this movie?
Oh, that was Reisman being a dick.
I didn't even understand the point of leaving the camp.
Oh no,
You know,
they had to go to the airfield to do the parachute practice.
Okay.
In World War II, practicing jumping out of an airplane involved jumping out of an airplane.
Yeah.
Which they never actually showed us.
Not in
I
the
guess
training
that's what
part.
confused me.
Not the training. But
Yeah, no, they showed them jumping
showed
out at
us-
the end, but
Yeah.
yeah,
But
they,
not-
Oh,
during
you wanted to film it a little bit longer so they can show the
Jump out of
actual
airplanes more.
parachute training.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I guess for me, I missed.
no, the deal is, it sounds
I
like
missed that that's what they were
right.
going to do.
She didn't make
so
that
when they never
connection.
showed us why they were there, it was kind of like, well, he basically took them up there to get their ass kicked. You know,
yeah.
that wasn't very nice.
No, and the deal was that they said at the beginning why they were going there, and
Yeah.
then they didn't actually show why they were going there when it was happening. They were because
Yeah.
that kind of wasn't important to the story. It was
Yeah.
really the story
And-
was them going Reisman being a dick, and then them getting their ass kicked for it.
Right. And it was a good bonding experience for the guys.
Yeah.
Because they took all that and they didn't say anything. You know,
Right.
they're like, you'll get yours. And they did.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
So yeah, there was just certain things like that. Like I said, I had missed the whole thing about it being a parachute jump.
Okay, Mikey.
Yeah, my opinion is this is a fun movie. I mean, it's a kind of a terrible, awful fun movie, but
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, war and basically everybody dies at the end. But I mean, other than that, it's really entertaining. I mean, it is. This was not my first time watching it. I had watched it years and years ago. I still think it's a bit long. So I don't entirely disagree with Liz on that one. But I'm not. I don't know that I would cut much, but it's a long movie. But it is very entertaining, pretty much the whole way through. There are a couple of lull spots, but not many, and the characters are diverse, we'll say. Obviously, Reisman is an awesome character. Most of the murderers are less than awesome, but they're fleshed out enough that you get a sense of, I mean, you get a pretty good idea, at least on some of them, of kind of what they did to get into the trouble they were in. So you're getting backstory on a lot of, not all 12 of them, but on enough of them to feed the movie and make it interesting. I mean, some of them did not necessarily deserve what they got. Some of them very much did. I find myself wondering after the fact how much Telly Savalas liked making this movie, because his was definitely the toughest character.
Yeah.
Because damn, that dude was sick, straight up.
Well, and get this, Jack Palance was going to originally do it, but he said they need to take out the whole lose the racism.
Oh wow.
It's like, well, that's essentially the entire character.
It's
Yeah.
a big part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty more in there, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean the idea, but yeah, the deal is that guy's supposed to be the outlier, even for the criminal group here.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the guy who's the worst of the bunch.
Yeah.
So
And
as far as that goes, they set it up pretty well.
he was the one that the psychiatrist said, that's the one you got to worry about. That's the one you should be leaving behind. And Reisman's like, I got to take all these guys. I don't have a choice in the matter. These are who they handed me. I got to do this mission.
Then
with them.
the deal was that was the guy they should never have offered a pardon to.
Yeah.
That was the guy they really should have just taken out and back and put down. But
Well,
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
it's a good movie. It is a little outside of what we normally do on this show, and that's okay.
Mhm.
I also think there's some interesting historical stuff here, but I'm going to let other people talk too.
And you talk about Reisman. Guess who originally was going to do the role? But he objected to some of the stuff that actually did not make it into the film.
Who, Matt Brando?
Nope. Think about someone who was big in the war movies back at this time.
Oh, please not John Wayne.
John Wayne.
No, John Wayne would not have worked in this movie.
It would not. It would not have worked.
Mm-mm.
You need a shifty Lee Marvin type. I mean,
Yeah.
Lee
Marvin
Marvin's
was
the
perfect.
guy. Yeah, he's the
Yeah.
guy who's. I mean, to say he's as tough as John Wayne is tricky, but he's also the guy who will do what he has to do to win. And yeah, he was perfect. John Wayne would not have worked.
Mm-mm. He wouldn't. No.
Lee Marvin, even just all over throughout his career, he could be the cold, calculated, as well as possibly be, someone you can say maybe not friend may be pushing it, but definitely the cold, calculating, like you said, would do what he needs to do to get the job done. I think it was a perfect fit.
Mm-hmm.
But I found out about that. I was like, oh God, that would not have worked.
That would be a disaster.
It would nowhere have been as good. And I say that as someone who likes a lot of his films.
Right.
That was not the role.
Let him do Green Berets and just walk away from there. You gotta let somebody else do this role.
Let him do The Longest Day or In Harm's Way or something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The public outcry would be too much.
Right.
To have him as a villain, because that role called for it. I think the public would say, this is not who you should have here.
Right. This is not our John Wayne.
Yeah.
Right.
So your thoughts, Les?
Well, I'm going to start by bucking the trend.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Let's start with the length. This was not too long. This was solid in every aspect. The purpose of having the breakdown of the characters was needed. The idea that these goons were about to become the greatest soldiers ever was essential. Even Trini Lopez in this movie the part he played was essential, although he didn't make it past the jump.
Yep.
But to me, it was a necessity to have him there. With his life lost, they had to recalculate who gets to do what.
Mm-hmm.
And the breakdown that they had in the war room was necessary from start to finish, and for them to go over the sequence as to who gets to do what was so well done. And they showed that this group could overcome this problem that they were facing all of a sudden. So, to me, this movie was such a good break from some of the war movies that were coming out at the time. And to me, we're not delivering. Lee Marvin had the swagger. And yes, just like you folks said, he had the role of a man that would do anything to accomplish the goal. And that was essential. That was something that the public watching this movie had to know. You look at this one, and to me, this is one of those that if it's on, I'll stop and watch. Although I know what's going to happen, I know who's going to die, this is still something that intrigues me every time it's on television. And usually there's something in there that I didn't see previously. And makes a difference.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoy this movie each and every time it's on. This also is a movie my wife will stop down. And when you get my wife to watch a movie, she'll do that for most John Wayne movies. She'll do that for Bridge on the River Kwai. And on Kwai, she'll start asking questions. She'll start asking me, where are we in the plot? And I'm going, just watch. But I'm sorry that this was too good a movie. I appreciate you posting this one because I thoroughly love it, and it doesn't matter what time or how many times I've seen it. It's well worth every second of my time to watch it again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've already, to a degree, I've already said that I love this film. I didn't even realize it was 2.5 hours. I don't feel it when I watch it. I mean, yeah, I'm during this discussion, I'm thinking about, okay, what could have been trimmed? And I mean, yeah, I mean, at the beginning where he first meets the 12, and we get the introductions, all that, yeah, maybe that could have been gone. You know, you could possibly argue, for those who've not watched this film, the film begins with with a soldier being hung, and Reisman's essentially forced to watch this as like a punishment. It's like, you know, if you don't stop doing your bullshit and start following orders and being compliance to Army regulations, you're going to end up like this. Did we need to see that? Well, yes and no. You know, it could have just started with him reporting to the generals, and then them going, oh, okay, let's look at your record. Well, you know what, you're a disgrace to the uniform. You really need to get your shit together, and not have the hanging. But you know, it was just a visual.
But it's a visual medium, right?
But it's a visual medium,
yeah,
right?
You got to show something because yes, otherwise you're just showing guys sitting around a table
talking,
bitching at each other.
Yeah,
and that's less exciting. That's less interesting. So,
right.
So yeah.
So
you got to show something.
So yeah. So like I said, that's a yes or no whether it stays in.
And it sets a mood for the movie too.
It does. You know, I like the way things are set out. Like we talked about, you get the backstory, you start seeing a little bit more about these characters, to where you get the involvement, to where later on when, hey, it looks like the shit's about to hit the fan and we're about to lose a lot of these guys, you give a damn to the degree. You may not love these guys. These are not guys you love, but you kind of care about them. And the fact that these guys who at the beginning of the film didn't give a shit about any others are all of a sudden, they're band of, what is it, Band of Brothers?
Band of Brothers.
So, we see that happen across the film, and that's that's something else I like. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of blowing up, there's a lot of all that, and yes, the humor is great in this too. The whole running joke of slipped on a bar of soap, which is code for someone getting his ass kicked. Yeah. And it's such a great cast. It dawned on me a couple of minutes ago, I didn't even mention Donald Sutherland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A very young Donald Sutherland, and he's great in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He is.
So there's not much I don't like in this film, except for the fact that everybody dies. But it's war.
Right. It's a suicide mission.
It was a suicide mission. So yes, I'm a big fan of this film. I've never read the book. I would like to. I think my dad has a copy, but I'm not sure where. But I don't know how close it is to the novel. But hey, what movie is closer to the original source material? But that's a side point. But I love.
Didn't we talk about that last week too?
Yeah, we did. But yeah, I love this film. I'm like Les. If I find that it's on, I'm watching. It doesn't matter if it's 10 minutes in or maybe 2 hours in. I need to watch it.
Who had the strongest portrayal? Who do you think lived past his known self? Who was a really strong actor in this one?
Oh, okay. Wow.
For my money, the standout acting job in this movie was John Cassavetes.
Yeah.
Straight up. Franco was so obnoxious that, to be as obnoxious as that character was, that takes a lot of work. And for my money, he's the one who pulled it. There were a lot of good ones. There were some much more subtle ones. But as far as just working hard and diving into the role, got to go with Franco.
I agree with you. Franco was so obnoxious when we were first introduced, and then by the end of the film, that's a character you go, oh my god, he dies.
Right. You don't actually ever like him.
No.
But it still bothers you when he dies,
Yes.
because he dies well, and he's a part of the team by then.
Yeah.
He's still obnoxious,
Yeah.
but he's part of the team.
He's still an
asshole, but he's our asshole, right?
Yeah, but he's you do care about him too. Yeah, I agree with that.
Now, is he the one that almost made it?
He was the one that was screaming, "We made it!
Yeah.
We're out of
Shot
here!"
in the back
and
of
then
the
he
seat.
gets shot.
in the back of the neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sucked.
Yeah.
Which I think is part of what makes that death tough, is because he by the end he really did want to make it.
Yeah.
And he was excited. He was legitimately. We made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We made it.
It was from the beginning he was me. And at the end, we made it, and blam. Yep.
Yep.
Was this Jim Brown's first movie?
You know what? I'm not sure.
I mean,
I think he was
had
still.
only retired or was about to retire from football.
I think he was still playing, trying to get out, try to retire at that point. But let me look, because I remember it seemed like there were some issues with him, because they had
he was in a Western in '64, so it wasn't his first movie. It's a second movie, actually. That's what this says. Dirty Dozen was the second movie.
But it seemed like I seem to remember reading something about there being some issues with him, because all this was filmed in England, and I'm not sure. I don't remember if it was Europe, but I remember it being out of the country, and there were some issues with the Browns because they were wanting, he was still playing.
Right. He missed the first part of training camp for the 66 season. Yep. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract from the question. That one just sort of blurted that one out. But
well, I mean, I've already mentioned Donald Sutherland because he was kind of the goofy, lovable guy.
Kind of that role that carried him through the early part of his career. Yeah, he did that role a lot.
You can really see where his son got his looks from in this movie. Kiefer looks just like him.
At that, when they were
at that age.
At that age, there were some, it's pretty obvious that they're related. They aged differently.
They did.
But at that age, it's pretty obvious.
I mean, you mentioned the parachute school. The whole thing with him being forced to pretend to be a general so he would check out the help me. To
do the inspection thing.
The inspection, inspecting the troops, and that whole thing. That was a funny sequence. Because
watching him try not to smile the whole time was
right.
Yeah,
He's like, okay, if I'm going to do this, let's have some fun. He stops and talks to that one kid and goes, where are you from? Oh, never heard of that place. Okay. And then look at that soldier's like, oh, okay. So that's a great one too.
How many war movies did he do? 3?
Well, there's this one, there's Kelly's Heroes, and MASH, obviously.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I'm not sure. And he's great in Kelly's Heroes, although it seems kind of out of place because he's basically playing a hippie in World War II.
Yeah, well, he's playing Hawkeye Pierce in MASH, so... And it is admittedly a different Hawkeye Pierce than Alan Alda portrayed, but he's still Hawkeye Pierce. He's still an irreverent bastard.
I was just curious.
Yeah, there were a lot of war movies that came out in that time frame, which I still think is a little odd, but there was a big resurgence in war movies in the late 60s. I mean, I get the parallels, but it seems like an interesting choice.
Okay, I mean, just by looking at the titles, I think that's it. Those 3 films. Well, no. Well, that's a Cold War film. Never mind.
Yeah, Cold War's different.
Cold War is different. But I think those are the three, at least at this period. Oh, I had forgotten he was in Star Revolution Without Me with Gene Wilder. Sorry, I
The actor that impressed me because he was totally different from what we'd known him for was Walker. We had known him as a cowboy, and it was TV series that was essentially the same story every week.
Mhm.
In this one, he got to play Posey, who was far different from the hunk that he played on television. I was so impressed with his job because you could see that he was a man that was definitely not quick to anger, but he was definitely a man that could kick ass. But he didn't pose it.
Yeah.
No
Well,
pun intended.
he wasn't quick to anger, because if he's quick to anger, he's killing someone.
Right.
I mean, that's why he was in prison in the first place. So yeah. And I take it back. There in 1976, so there's a little bit of a gap. The Eagle Has Landed. He was in that film with Michael Caine and Robert Duvall. Now I want to see that one. Holy shit.
That's right. That's just that. Yeah. No argument there.
Yeah. Pandora's box.
Mm-hmm. Well, you get this good. That's the deal when you get this good a cast together.
Yeah.
You're gonna wander off on tangents just watching random ass movies with these guys in it.
Okay, this is an interesting one. He starred in a film 1975 called The Day of the Locusts. Guess what his character's name was?
Posey.
Homer Simpson.
Oh wow,
Lord.
that's disturbing.
Don't.
Yeah.
That's another one with an impressive cast. Just looking at it,
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
You know what? I'll probably get some flack for this, but I like Charles Bronson in this.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he didn't have a lot of range as an actor, but there was something about this film, about that character.
He didn't have a ton of range, but what he did well.
Yes.
And especially early in his career, I think.
Yeah.
He did play the kind of he's a smaller guy, and he's the one who gets picked on a lot.
Yeah.
And so he gets the crap beat out of him, and that slow burn thing that he does worked really well in this movie.
Yeah.
It worked well in a lot of his movies. I mean, the big exception I see to that is Magnificent Seven. He actually did act some in that one.
Yes, he did.
And he did it well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so yeah. I won't argue with you too much.
But when he played Danny in Great Escape,
that was good too. Yep.
to me, this role was extremely similar to Danny.
He was calm, cool, collective until until we find out that he had suffered from claustrophobia.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing with the cave-in. Yeah. Yep. That was kind of a turning point on his performance. I mean, up until then, yeah, he was cool, calm, collective. Yeah, we got a job to do. We're going to do this, and this is what we need to do. And then once that happens, he's a different person. I agree. Which is funny because if he's claustrophobic, I mean, and it's discussed in the film, but just, you know, how he deals with this claustrophobia is he becomes a tunnel king to escape from camp or prison camp. You know. He digs for freedom.
Could they make this movie today?
Probably not. Not in its current form. Not in this form, anyway. I mean, to throw back to something Liz said at the very beginning, they did make the Suicide Squad, which is based on some similar themes.
Yeah.
But to do it straight up military like this, I don't think so.
I don't know. I really don't.
I think it could.
I mean, I could see it. I could definitely see it, especially if you get the right cast put together. But man, if you want to do something similar with some big names and all that, you're talking about a lot of bucks.
True.
Do I hear a casting call coming up?
Oh, good Lord. Too many roles in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I'm
not shooting for that. No.
It'd be our first two-parter casting call.
You joke. There was one time I kind of played around. You know, a few years back, someone did the hey, what if Doctor Who had been an American series, and then basically cast all the doctors up to that point? I kind of toyed around with that idea, but I was like, no, you're talking about 3 or 4 episodes, right? You're talking about an entire year's worth right there. So I kind of scrapped that idea. So hey, it's multi-part casting calls has been contemplated, but not yet. And I mean, next year's has already been set down, and most of the year after that it's been set down. So it would be a while unless something just pops in and go, hey, let's do that. Like maybe doing a new Dirty Dozen. We can do that.
The new crew.
Oh man.
But let's be honest, because they really only focused on. I mean, everybody was talked to and mentioned. We got the backstory and all that, but it was only really about the big 6 or so.
Yeah,
that was the
6 or
focus
7.
of the films. Yeah.
Yeah.
So. And we do casting calls of 7 people. I see a plan for me.
You're welcome, guys.
We'll deal with you later.
I'm sure Les is itching to do one.
Why not?
Okay. I'll figure something out. You're welcome, Mike. And you hear it right here, right now. Just don't know when. Dirty Dozen recast.
The new kids on the block.
Now there's been 2 sequels, two made-for-TV sequels. Believe it or not.
Because why not?
Well, I mean, they brought Reisman back to do the second one, and then when they did the third one, I think Lee had left us. So they actually got, if I remember correctly, was it Ernest Borgnine? Who did that? Who did the third Dirty Dozen film? No, it was Telly Savalas. That's right. It was Telly Savalas. That makes sense.
Brought him back from the dead?
Well, it wasn't the same character.
Yeah, I think it's a different character. That would have been,
Just checking.
that would have been a totally different movie. That was the Horror Express sequel.
Yeah. Ginseng.
I heard it, but why?
Oh gosh.
And on that note, I think we are going to take a quick break. Well, unless there's some other final thoughts besides watch it.
Definitely watch it.
Yeah. Take the
Yeah.
time.
It's good.
All right. So on that note, we are taking that break and be back with Geek News for You. And we're back, and it's time for our Geek News for You. This is where we pick a couple items that have been posted on obviously news items we've been posted. We bring it to the table for a little discussion. This week it will be Mikey and me. And Mike, would you like to lead off?
Oh, sure. So my item this week is from a few days ago, and it was an article about an auction where a very rare VHS tape was sold, and it was VHS tape for the movie Back to the Future. The headline says it sold for $75,000 for an original VHS copy of Back to the Future. I would not be a bit surprised if part of why it pulled in what it pulled in was because it was sold by Tom Wilson.
Yep.
Who was the guy who played Biff Tannen.
Yeah.
So that probably had something to do with it. That probably added to it a little bit. But yeah, also thought it was interesting that he was selling it in the first place. But it seems like, I mean, from reading this article, it looks like he has kind of done that over the years anyway. Yeah. Just kind of got some copies of it, and I guess copies of probably other stuff, and just kind of sells them out there every so often. This one, it seemed like this one was the big cash thing for him. I mean, I have no idea what he's doing with that money, and I kind of don't care. It's not important, but I mean, you got to think $75,000 for a almost 40-year-old VHS tape. I mean, we used to wear them suckers out in 2 years back then. So you got to think this is not something that somebody's actually going to use. So this is straight up a collectible, which is not surprising given that it was sold by Heritage Auctions,
right?
Which is a local place that this is what they do. I mean, they're best known probably for selling comics
and art and all that.
Yeah, and other memorabilia type stuff. So yeah, this is, I mean, good for him for doing it. Good for him for, I mean, because he included some stuff in it, like a picture of him holding it and some autograph stuff, and I mean, he played it up, and it's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just an awful lot of money for essentially something useless at this point.
Well, and it's not just the fact that it was coming from him. It's still an original factory seal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's never been played. So that may have played a little bit into it as well. So, I mean, yeah, $75,000 for a VHS. I get that, but $1 million for a comic book, so it's one person's I gotta have that. There's another person is like, what in the hell's wrong with you? So.
Yeah, one person's there's no way in the world I'm going to buy that is someone else's, man, I have too much money. What am I going to give it away on today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. That was a very interesting article, and kind of incident, and it was
It's
cool.
definitely noteworthy for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not knocking it. I
No.
just think it's fascinating, kind of as an artifact in itself. But yeah, it's
Yeah, the story, if I remember correctly, it was actually something that was given to him from either the studio or the company that put out the tapes or something like that. It's just it's kind of like the freebie type stuff back in the day that was just sent to him, and he never opened it. He put it to the side. I don't know if it was, I can't remember right now if that was something he planned on. Hey, at some point I'll turn around and sell this, or just stuff that he just put to the side and said, "Oh, that's kind of cool." But I've seen the movie. I was in it. So I don't really need the VHS. So whatever. But I mean, it's a nice little story.
mm-hmm.
And of course, saying something like that, I'm immediately reminded of Bruce Campbell. Someone asking him if he's watched like the Evil Dead movies. He's like, dude, I lived it.
Right.
Why would I watch it? I lived it. So
It's a good story, though.
yeah.
I like that.
Okay. Well, mine is regarding a movie as well. A movie that we probably we will never get. And this article came from Screen Rant. Apparently, the Quentin Tarantino. God, why am I having problems with names tonight? Zorro Django crossover film is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There was an interview with the writer Jared Carmichael, who kind of gave an update, and it sounded like, from what I was seeing, and it was actually going to be the Antonio Banderas Zorro, and of course Jamie Foxx coming back to be Django, but it doesn't really kind of give any details on why. He doesn't think it's going to happen, but he made one comment that's led some people to go off on different tangents. He said that he and Tarantino wrote a quote-unquote $500 million film. And some people are interpreting that, well, it's going to cost that much to make the film. Others, and myself included, think that the meaning was he thought it would make that kind of money. I don't know about that, but the thing that there's part of the problem is don't know who has all the rights now, and supposedly we've already talked about before in the past of Robert Rodriguez doing a female version of Zorro. We talked about that a while back because I made a whole comment about the Queen of Swords. It's like that's a female Zorro. Why aren't you just doing Queen of Swords? But anyway, I'm not going to go back into that. But apparently, one thing there's another version in some sort of development that's actually going to have Wilmer Valderrama.
Okay.
Fez.
Show.
Fez.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from that 70s show. I guess he would be Zorro.
Huh.
I'm kind of intrigued.
That's like no one wants to see that.
So, but yeah, go ahead, Leska.
I was just going to say that would not be his first action movie.
Right. He's done stuff other than Fez, for sure.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean that's what
Most people know, man.
think. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's got a role right now in one of the cop shows, I believe. I forget which one.
Mm.
And he was Bob the Builder. Wasn't he?
What?
Wasn't he? Am I remembering that wrong?
I don't know. Like, can we build it? Bob the Builder?
Maybe I'm...
I have no clue. I don't know. So,
no, not Bob the Builder. I'm sorry. Handy Manny is the show that I was thinking of.
Okay.
okay.
I'm sorry. He was about to blow my mind. It's
my
like,
bad.
What? How
My
did I
bad.
not know that?
You know, animated repairman thing. It
Yeah.
just... I got them mixed up. I'm sorry.
So, while it's not impossible, it sounds very doubtful. And I vaguely remember them talking about it, but I was thinking, well, they did a comic. Was it Dynamite that put out it was like a limited series? I don't know how many years ago. It's been a while. It's been a few years. And I was like, I thought that was it. That was you know, they decided not to do the movie, they were going to do the comic. But I don't know. This kind of just popped out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, yeah. Been curious about that team up that I forgot that they were going to work on. You know? Anyway. So that's it.
The question I have for you is why?
Why what? Why ask why?
Why do a Django Zorro and just call it 00 movie? I'm sorry, I wasn't that impressed with Django to begin with.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I didn't like it that much.
Yeah.
It seemed like unnecessary violence, but
It was like a Sam Peckinpah movie that way.
yeah, quite a bit like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I don't see a demand for it, but you know, that's not stopped people in the past. So, I mean, if they can get the money and get the people, they'll do it. So
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to see a Zorro film. You know, I really like the first one with Banderas. The second one, not so much. You know, I would like to see, and don't get me wrong, the whole female Zorro thing. I mean, that's okay, but I was like, we have the Queen of Swords. It's already been established. It was a series back in the 90s or early 2000s, somewhere like that. It's like, well, why don't you just do that instead of just saying, hey, we're doing a female Zorro? But, you know, they didn't ask me.
Right, and again, if they can sell, I mean, Queen of Swords, if you can do something like that and actually put the Zorro name on it, you might sell a few more tickets. I don't know.
I don't know. At least we're not getting the Zorro in the future, you know, thing that we were.
Yeah, we're going to cross
supposedly
over Zorro and Django. Let's cross over Zorro and Jason X. That'll be fun.
There you go. Now, if you want to do a Zorro and a Gotham by Gaslight, I'll be down for that.
That would be interesting. That would be late Zorro, but
It'd be late Zorro, yeah, or Zorro's the heir to the mask.
Mm-hmm.
That would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Maybe that will be a casting call.
Cool. Maybe we should get the copyright to it first. I'm just saying.
Okay. Any special shout outs or mentions this week?
All right, just to be a little bit silly,
Okay.
since Bruce Campbell got mentioned earlier, we are recording this on his birthday.
There you go.
So happy birthday, Bruce Campbell.
It's my sister's birthday, too.
There you go.
There you go.
Happy birthday to her, too.
Yep. Exactly.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Any other special mentions or shout-outs?
Nope.
Just a reminder, no new episodes next week, and we'll be back the following week. We're inching closer and closer to all the horror months. Woohoo!
Yay.
Yep. Which is always fun. It's always fun watching those films and then doing these special with our special guests who we don't know yet because it's June. We don't have to worry about that till closer to October.
Right. We'll start figuring that out in August.
Yep, something like that. All right, let's go on to our regular shout-outs. I want to thank Pop Goes Culture Podcast Network for allowing us to be part of a great group of fellow podcasts. Definitely check them out. There will be a link in the show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who make up Potter and Family, who've been so gracious as to spread the word of fellowship by retweeting our links. The best way to check them out is to go to Twitter and do a search, hashtag Potter and Family. So scroll through, and whatever catches your eye, please click on that link and download that episode. And we hope you have a great time listening to them. Thank you guys, as always. Want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying music to our podcast. There'll be a link in the show notes where you can check out their music. Thank you guys, as always. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Any questions, comments, suggestions, complaints, observations, what have you, please send them our way. Our email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Or you can go to the website, go to the About Us page, and there's a contact form you can fill out there. On our Discord, we do have a channel specifically designed for feedback where you can post your comments there. Social media, we are on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. We are on Instagram, @Fellowship Geeks. That is also our Twitter handle, @Fellowship Geeks. Feel free to follow us both places. If you like to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found @MikeyGeek. Liz can be found @LN_geek. Les may or may not be found @FakeLesWebster. And I can be found @TomTCGeek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you would be so kind as to rate and review the show, we would be greatly appreciative. Anything before we say goodbye for 2 weeks?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Be sure to follow us on our connections.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. Thank you. I'm sorry.
You bastard.
Yes, follow us on our Discord and our social medias. Yes, by all means, please. Thank you for listening, everybody. We do appreciate your support as always. Until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook @The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter @Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,